Hi everyone, thanks so much Juliet. So, I'm Noamaan Siddiqi, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bristol Superlight, and I'd like to speak to you today about some of the carbon and economic inefficiencies that are built into the very fabric of society. We started Bristol Superlight to address and solve one of those inefficiencies, which is the problems inherent in logistics. Now, you've probably all seen trucks driving around, right? Diesel fumes coming out of them. And you may think that that's an easy solve. That's not quite the case, because the problem with trucks and with logistics in general, it's a lot more pernicious than it seems at first glance. I'm going to start with a number, 6%. It's a very small number, it's a very low number. But shockingly, I couldn't believe this when I figured this out. Shockingly, of all the onboard stored energy on a truck, which is to say the diesel in the fuel tank, only 6% of that potential energy is used to move payload around. I was appalled. It's just such a low fraction. It's just unbelievable. And the reason we've been able to get away with that is because of the inherent energy density, the richness of the energy inside diesel and inside diesel vehicles. We started Bristol Superlight with a very simple aim. It was to get these polluting vehicles off the road. Diesel trucks, these middle mile box trucks, they've seen a massive proliferation caused by the e-commerce boom. And while these trucks are responsible for only 5% of the traffic on our roads, again, a very small number, because of the way they're being utilized, they're responsible for more than 40% of the harmful emissions in our urban centers. And that's not just the clouds of particulate matter that's spewing out of the exhaust, all of these sort of black soot that you see, but also in terms of the greenhouse gas emissions, with more than 1 kilogram of carbon dioxide being emitted for every kilometer that's driven. This is all pretty appalling. The reason we've been able to get away with this, as I just said, is because of the energy richness that we have with hydrocarbons. Most people in this room probably appreciate that. A lot of people outside this room don't. The best lithium battery in the world today has only about 10% of the energy content of the equivalent volume or mass of diesel. And so this is the problem. When you have designed architectures which have been around for many, many years and have been optimized and tuned to take advantage of such sources of energy abundance, if all you're going to do is adapt that architecture to try to make it more energy efficient, to consume less, to use less as it progresses, to improve the efficiency, then that's not going to go very far, in all honesty. You end up with products that are too heavy, they're too expensive, they're too limited in performance, and they're too limited in capability. What you need to do instead is to redefine the paradigm. And I'll explain exactly what I mean by that. Trucks have a history that go all the way back to a technology that predates the Romans, the ox and the cart. This might sound a little bit hyperbolic, but there's a very clear linear progression. The ox and the cart was invented about 4000 BC as far as we can figure. Some thousand years after that, a few thousand years after that, the steam engine replaces the ox. The diesel engine replaces the steam engine, and nowadays you have a big electric motor replacing the diesel engine. In 30 seconds, I have given the entire history of logistics. How nuts is that? But that shows the state of innovation. That shows the state where people are merely adapting technologies. When you try to adapt a technology, the solution that you present is not really a solution at all. And that's what we realized at Bristol Superlight. We were listening to our customers. When we founded the company, we were going to do electric trucks. And one thing I kept hearing over and over again was, we're concerned about trucks being sustainable trucks being too expensive, too limited in capability, too limited in performance. This is a common refrain. What we decided to do instead, and this is something that I'd encourage everyone to do, is to go root and branch. You really have to go and look at the very first principles of the solution that you're trying to bring to market. We started by saying, hey, look at all of this rubbish. This is all like a legacy that goes back literally several thousand years in a very linear fashion. Why do we need this? We've got modern tools at our hand. And so instead of progressing along this same vein, incremental improvements year on year, we threw it all out, redesigned everything from scratch, literally everything, I think, in our vehicle, except for the wheels. We used electronics and software to invent a 4-electric motor drive system. This is much more efficient, but that was only the starting point. Once we did that, we realized, well, hang on a second, we don't need to carry around all the other craft of the past 1,000 years that trucks carry around. So instead, we were able to invent a Superlight skeletal chassis, which is lighter, it's stronger, it's cheaper to manufacture, and it is less carbon intensive to manufacture. These things are not easy. They are extremely challenging to redefine the paradigm. But what are the results of being able to do that? Let's go back to this number. A conventional diesel truck consumes uses only about 6% of the onboard stored energy in the fuel tank to move around payload. It's appalling, right? If you swap that diesel engine out with an electric motor, you swap that fuel tank out with a big battery, it improves, but it improves a bit. You get to about 24% of the energy in the battery now being used to move payload. With a redefinition of the paradigm, bringing a first principles approach, what we've been able to do at Bristol Superlight is reach 50% of the onboard energy in the battery being used to move payload. That is not just marginal gains, that is transformative, that is game-changing. It changes and redefines the economics of logistics, and it changes the sustainability of logistics. And all of this is possible because we started with a clean sheet. This is not an easy thing to do. It's a very hard thing to do. And I know we have many hard tech innovators in the room today. If you are going to create hard tech in this macro environment in Europe, it's bloody hard. You need to be persistent. You need to be resilient. You need to be bloody minded. That's the simplest way to say it. You've got to persevere and press on because the rewards will be worth it. The changes that you can bring with a redefinition of the paradigm are profound. And what I'd say as kind of a concluding thought here is these things need to be done. It's absolutely necessary. Redefine paradigms for the 21st century. Let's not get tied on with the baggage of the past. When you're creating something, when you're delivering solutions and developing solutions, have a hard look. Don't be afraid to go right to the basics, first principles, and say, hey, look, if we started today with a clean sheet, could we do this better? Thank you.